Hello everyone. This is Sintry. I have recently taken over the maintenance of the Augmentation buff timer WeakAura from Zephy going into the War Within. Um, and I thought now would be a good time to make a little video just updating everybody on the WeakAura. I have been getting asked a lot of the same questions by different people. So I thought now I would make a video, answer as many of the very common questions that I'm getting, as people don't seem to be reading the FAQ all that much. Um, I will go over the common questions and talk about some of the new features as well as some of the issues that are currently present in the WeakAura that I'm working on as of the 2nd of October 2024. Here goes. Um, when you download the WeakAura, it will appear in a group like this. I'm not going to go over this particularly in depth. Um, at a minimum, to make the WeakAura work, you need these top 5, or at least these top 3 WeakAuras in the group to be enabled. You need the combat timer and the frame glows. The frame glows are obviously what is going to make your frames glow. Um, Personally, these bottom two, the glow time remaining and the active timer name list, I have never used myself, even before I took over maintaining this WeakAura. I just don't see much of a use in them. So these, by default, are set to load never. If you want to use them, feel free. But personally, I never use them. Um, and just if you import the WeakAura, it will pretty much work out of the box. Assuming you set up your note properly. So you do need MRT or ERT in order to make this WeakAura work. And it should, in theory, work almost out of the box. You can see down here at the bottom under my player frame, I have a bunch of copies of my own name. These are the cell spotlight frames. These are what I personally use for targeting because I can click cast on them. I won't be uploading the profile that I use because it is actually from Atrocity's UI. You're more than welcome to go and subscribe to him to get his UI, but that's what I use. I will go over how to set up different raid frames and their priority. But personally, with Cell, I only use the spotlight frames. I have disabled all the other raid frames, and I use ElfUI for the raid frames. Just quickly, some of the custom options. Zephy also goes over this in his video, so I'm not going to spend too much time. These two sliders, they are the default behavior for the WeakAura. So if I want, it's explained here, so if I wanted a frame to start glowing 15 seconds before I need to cast prescience on them, I would set this to 15. You can override this in the spreadsheet. I will show you how to do that. And it will glow for 30 seconds. It no longer glows for that duration if you cast prescience on the target. So if you something that I implemented is, say you have someone that you want to buff prescience on at 2 minutes into the fight, and you have 15 seconds in advance, and it starts glowing at 1 minute 45. If you cast prescience on that target at 2 minutes and 1 second, or at 1 minute 57, or something like that, before the 30 seconds is over, so before 2 minutes and 15 into the fight, the frame will stop glowing. As soon as you cast prescience on a glowing frame, it will stop glowing. I found this easier progressing Mythic. It was, I was sometimes running into difficulties figuring out who I'd buffed when I was buffing two people simultaneously. So I found this personally much easier to deal with. Um, Mostly, I personally ignore these. I set most of it up in the spreadsheet, um, but that's what those are for. If you don't want to do it in the spreadsheet, it's the same for these: the glow audio and the timer audio. For these, you do need the custom ABT sounds sound pack that is included in the description page of the WeakAura. Go download it, extract it into your interface folder. I will just show you what that should look like. Retail. So you see, I have the ABT sounds here in the WeakAura in the interface folder. Doesn't need to go in add-ons, but you just need to extract it, extract the zip file into your interface folder, and it's done with. So that's how those work. This will play a sound when the glow first appears. So in this, if we were using this 15 seconds in advance and we're buffing someone at 2 minutes, for example, it would say prescience. It would do text to speech for prescience at 1 minute 45, and when you reach that 2 minutes, it would say Eben, for example. But that's the in-game options. I will just jump into the spreadsheet for a second. This is, I haven't touched this side of it. Thankfully, Zephy set it up incredibly well to the point where it doesn't really need much adjustment from myself. And the quick start guide should be enough for most people. But just walking through it quickly, these are the players in the setup page. You set up who you might be buffing, the rest of your raid team, for example. These are just our players within our raid. You give them the name. The name has to be 100% accurate. However, you do not need to include realm names. So if you have funny characters in your name or in people's names in your raid, it won't work if you, for example, on this mage here, if I put a regular O instead of the Danish it would not work. So just a note for that. There are a few different ways you can set this up. Personally, the way I like to do it is, this is our old note from Firak on Mythic. I know it says Ansurek down here, but we're going to change it. And a lot of these names are no longer being played, so they've been removed from the spreadsheet. But personally, the way I like to do it is I like to set up presciences as opposed to Eben might windows. That's just the way my brain works, so that's how I do it. And you see the timers here, they have to be in this format, so it's 00:05. If it's not in this format, the note won't work, and the WeakAura won't work. Another way you can set this up, just before I go into that, the targets correspond to the glow, the frame glows here. So this is target 3, for example. This isn't as relevant now in the War Within because of how they've changed prescience and how they've changed Augmentation Evoker, and we no longer have our tier set from Amidrisil, which gave us a guaranteed double duration prescience. So frames 3 and 4 are no longer as relevant. In the future, I do plan to change the WeakAura slightly to account for golden opportunity procs, which is the double duration prescience. But for now, they don't matter all that much. But you can change those colors in the WeakAura options yourself. So you can set it up like this with prescience timers, or you can do it like the other Augmentation Evoker in my raid likes to do, and do it in Eben might windows, as an example. These are the overrides that I was talking about earlier. So when determines how long before this timer in column D the frame will start to glow. So for example, on this row here, the buff is set to 31 seconds. It will start, both of those frames will start glowing at 11 seconds. And they will glow for 20 seconds. They will glow all the way up until the timer ends, or you buff them. Those are the overrides. If you are setting this up for yourself, you need to ensure that your name is up here. So Synfoker, this is my character. You need to ensure your name is up here, otherwise it will not work correctly. And then once that's all done, and once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to delete those because it's going to mess with everything. Once that's set up, you press Generate Note. You wait for it to finish the script, and you wait for this box to turn green. And then you just click the box once, press Control C to copy it, and then here you go into MRT, you go into your personal note, and you copy and paste it in here. This is an old note, but I could copy and paste that, and this will now work. So this should now work when I get into combat in the raid. This will work. If you are in a guild where your raid leader likes to micromanage all of your augmentation evokers, which I don't think there are many of, but if you are in one of those, you can put this in the regular note that is distributed to everybody and just change the name. So it will work in the personal note or in the regular note. Our raid can't be arsed with that. We just do personal notes. But you can do that. And it has to follow this format as well. So you have to have the time and then 004, and then outside of those curly braces you have the 004 again. And you also have the W and D for this is the when, so how long before the timer it's going to glow, and the duration of the glow. And then off the top of my head I can't remember what G and T is, but you don't necessarily need those. I think those are the sound overrides. Yeah, so those are the sound overrides, so you can select from any number of these sounds. So that's the sheet. If there are questions about it, feel free to get in touch with me. My contact details are in the description of the WeakAura. I will also put them in the description of this video. Now, in terms of showing this in action, I will link to a video of my guild's Farak kill. That is the last working video I have of it. It is from before I made the change to stop the frames glowing once you cast Prescience. However, it still works functionally the same. It just doesn't remove the glow from the frame until the timer is up. So I will link to that in the description if you want to see how it works or see it in action. But in terms of current issues, there is an issue I'm currently working on right now where if you die in a raid encounter while this WeakAura is running and while you are using it, and then you are resurrected, it will start glowing frames from the beginning of the note again. So for example, if I was to use this note as an example, if I died 2 minutes into the fight, just after buffing NeuroCloud and Carney, and then I was battle resed, it would glow Roper and Jock's frame for me instead of continuing from the timer of the encounter. I am working on a fix for this. As of the 2nd of October, it is not fixed. I will push out a new version of the WeakAura as soon as it is fixed. But for now, just be aware of that. I guess the the best solution is just don't die, forehead. Um, Easier said than done, I guess. But it is something I am currently working on. I am aware of it. Um, and just as one last thing, I've had a lot of people ask me about setting up the frames so that they work correctly. So I'm just going to quickly run through how to do that. If you go to your add-ons folder, so I'll walk through it from the add-ons folder. You go into your Retail WoW interface add-ons. You select your WeakAuras folder. Go into here in libs. You go and you find lib get frame. Okay, and in here you find this libgetframe.lua file. And then you open this in some sort of text editor. I program as a career, so I'm using Visual Studio Code for this. But you can use you can just use a regular notepad. And this part here is the part we are concerned about. So where it says default frame priorities, these curly braces here, you need to keep these curly braces in, because otherwise you will mess up the scope of it. If I remove that, it completely messes with the scope and this will no longer activate. So you need to keep those curly braces in there. And what you want to do is, if you were to use cell, for example, this is what it would look like at the start. So you have your voodoo frames at the top and then cell, and that's just how it looks. All you want to do is you want to take cell and put it at the top there, just like that. And now it will correctly prioritize cell frames. A note on cell frames though, if you are using cell RAID frames, you will need to change the frame priorities for libgetFrame here in the cell options. I don't use cell frames as RAID frames, I only use their spotlight frames. And so I do not need to change this to spotlight, for example. If you have both of these selected, it will confuse the WeakAura, and you will get some that glow on your RAID frames and some that glow on your spotlight frames. So you only want one of these checked when using the WeakAura. But if you want to know how to set up cell, I would recommend Automatic Jack's video. I've linked it in the description of the WeakAura page on Wago. But that's how you set up your frame priority. If you were using Voodoo, for example, as I used to be, which is why my Voodoo frames are at the top, if you were using Voodoo, you would just move it like that, for example. But I think that should be everything. If there's any questions about something I haven't covered in this video, or if there's something that isn't clear, feel free to reach out. But I hope the WeakAura works for everybody. If you have any suggestions or any problems, reach out to me, let me know. I will do my best to respond. I will do my best to fix any issues that might be occurring. But other than that, I hope this video helped, and good luck.